the RPG Maker General Podcast, or the rpgmgp. All you touch and all you see is all your life will ever be. Hello everybody, and welcome to the RPG Maker General Podcast, or the rpgmgp, your one-stop shop for everything RPG Maker. This is Cody, aka Marpix, and with me today are the Red Mage.
Good morning, everybody.
And Blue Sky Robin.
Yo, hello.
Yo, we got a heck of a show for you today, but first a little bit of RPG Maker news. Well, podcast news, I guess. You all may remember Windsor. He was one of the earliest contributors to this program, and you may remember him because he always talked like this, and he liked to talk about his penis a little bit too much. But
oh my God, Windsor, is that you?
Oh goodness, hey, it's your boy Sam Windsor. Hey, but anywho, Windsor, back when he was still doing the podcast, he ended up missing a recording because he wanted to go see his girlfriend. Well, here we are a year and a half later, and that girlfriend is now his fiancée as of this morning!
Hooray!
Amazing, yeah.
That is awesome, though, that just that one fated encounter, be like, I'm not gonna do the podcast today. I'm gonna do something else. And then now it was the right choice for him to have made.
Yeah. Oh man, he did a lot for us. Remember all those dab videos he made? All those days. Those dark days.
Yes, from the man who brought you the Windsor cast, we now give you his wedding.
Oh boy.
Congratulations,
though, Windsor. You deserve the happiness.
Mm-hmm. Hopefully he wears like a Minions tuxedo.
Oof.
Okay. And all the raving fans, I guess that means he won't snog you anymore, so whatever.
Sorry, there will be no more snogging. I am a taken man. I have been taken. She took me.
Oh boy.
Did we have anything else? I forgot.
The game jam that we did.
Oh, shit, right.
Yeah, super success. How successful was it, Cody?
Fuck, the game jam.
I remember like 8 titles.
That's right, the game jam that I fucking hosted. Okay, shit. Yeah, so I hosted a game jam for RPGMG a couple weeks ago. It was the 1 week, 1 town, 1 dungeon, 1 boss jam, and the jam was exactly what it said on the tin. You had 1 week to make a game with 1 town, 1 dungeon, and 1 boss. I wanted to keep it simple, keep it very open, because we hadn't had a jam in a while, and yeah, as Robin said, 8 games. Woo!
At least. I don't know if there were more. I only counted 8.
Yeah, it ended up being 8. Red Mage made 1, and I also made 1. And I made one called The Cave. Hi, everyone. My game is called The Cave, and in it you explore a cave on top of Mount Cave. You take my friend Lisa, you make another friend, and you go kill the big evil bad guy who is lurking at the bottom of Mount Cave's cave.
Yeah, I also made 1, but I didn't make the deadline, so I gave up.
It's okay. You still learned something from the experience, which is the most important thing.
Like how XP sucks, kind of.
It does not.
I am very bad at wielding XP.
I mean, that's fair. Like I was saying before, if I were to have used MV for this, I would have been probably in the same boat, because I've used it once, and it was just for like a joke that I did. So I completely understand.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, no, I made a game called 1, 2, 3.
Oh, you made that one?
Yeah, that was mine. And
shit, I heard that was actually kind of popular on the board for a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Basically, the premise was you play a Dark Knight, and then you go and you fight the boss, and then you die, and then you get attacked by, I think it's called like Flames of Destiny. I don't even remember now. But basically, you end up in an alternate version of the world where you meet yourself from a different timeline, who is like basically a sun cleric guy, and then you team up to go and fight the bad guy, and if you die again, then you're sent to a third timeline where then you now have like a wizard that's also an alternate form of you, and then the 3 of you, who are all the same person, technically go and fight the boss. There were no level ups. You basically just did the Final Fantasy Legends style, where you grinded for souls or money is actually just the currency, which you then traded in for stat buffs, but it was overtuned, and apparently a lot of people had trouble finishing it, so I apologize.
So it sounds like Doctor Who, I think. coming from a guy who doesn't watch Doctor Who.
I
so.
don't watch Doctor Who either, so I have no idea.
Hmm.
But there are 3 endings, depending on whether you beat it with 1, 2, or 3 characters. So, but I will fix it and release an updated version eventually. But no, we had a lot of other neat games in the jam too. I played Skin Flash. That was a trip.
Yeah, the 1 day instead of 1 week one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was entertaining. I just never there wasn't like enough there for me to like really enjoy it, but I know he's working on some other game, and so I'm very curious to see what else he comes up with.
Oh, man,
Yeah.
I'm jealous of you, RM. Like, I wish I could play games like that without cringing myself to death.
Well, yeah, Skin Flesh, though, the guy made it in 1 day as a personal challenge. So, I mean, for a game that he just shat out in 1 day.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste. Let me say that.
Yeah, he's got some interesting art, that's for sure. It might be even worse than Space Funeral, which is impressive.
That's tough.
Shit.
Tough to top that one.
No, I'm just glad that I managed to balance the battles for the cave, because everyone I talked to, they finished it between level 3 and 5, which is what I wanted. Like, XP's default system, it works, but it's not perfect. So what I did was I doubled the XP gain, I tripled the gold payout, and I reduced the price of basically everything by at least half.
That's fair.
Yeah, because, like, the hardest boss in that game, like the Archangel or whatever, it has 10,000 HP, and it gives you 480 gold when defeated. Now, you should know that your starting equipment, like the fighter starts with a bronze sword, and that is 500 gold to buy.
Yeah.
So the hardest enemy in the game doesn't even give you enough gold to buy one of the weakest pieces of equipment.
Yeah. Playing RTP with that is virtually impossible if you just use the default, like, everything.
Yeah. Also, I found out about skill scaling. This wasn't in the PS1 version. You can make skill damage based off of certain stats. So the secret character is the only one who uses dexterity to determine damage, and that's also why I made the Ring of Dextality. That's how they spell it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I made it 1 gold because ain't nobody buying a Ring of Dexterity anyway. And
Right.
Yeah, because it's the Ring of Dextality. Get it right, Cody.
well, I mean, as opposed to the Ring of Strength or the Ring of Intelligence, where, you know, those are direct increases in damage. In the case of the Ring of Dextality, like, no one's going to need to increase their accuracy, so fuck it, it's 1 gold. And then if you happen to acquire the secret character, they can use that to do ridiculous damage.
Yep. Yeah, I actually went into the scripts because the way that, like, damage is calculated in XP is kind of really bad, honestly. So I also added in a thing for mine so that there'd be more balance where, like, as you increase your agility, it actually reduces your physical damage taken, and then as you increase your dex, it reduces your magical damage taken. So you can buff your stats that way, but once I actually looked into it and found out how the damage was, like, calculated, I was like, this is something here, and I'm glad that I looked at it, because now I can actually go in and make a game, because I always wanted to make one, like, very, like, Dragon Quest style, meaning where you have, like, you do 2 and 3 damage, you don't start out swinging for 200 to 300, and now I know how to do that with their system.
Very cool.
I still don't. I could not wrap my head around the damage system in XP.
Yeah, it's really bad, honestly.
I like the hard numbers that are shown in BXAs and onwards.
Yeah, I really like that increase where you can dictate it.
Formula yourself.
Yep.
I can
That's
see
a really good point.
I can see that kind of like detracting. So yeah.
For sure.
I had to use XP though because I have just a huge design boner for tall sprites, and especially the mapping resources are designed for tall sprites.
Yes.
Like square chibis are cool for Game Boy, but ay. That's all I can say. Just quote me.
Okay, got it. Quoted.
Yeah, the next game jam, I have a couple ideas. One of them, I was thinking, like, of course, this doesn't have any bearing on game design, but, like, an original song. Like, basically, your game has to include one original song for the sake of you learning how to make one.
Okay.
Another one I thought of was, like, a a 2-part collab where everyone makes the beginning of a game and then we all switch papers and we finish each other's game.
That would be cool. I think that'd be really neat.
Yeah, that'd be okay, Cody. I'd like to switch with your game and then have your ending be like, oh no, Cody's waifus are trash.
Go fuck yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cody, but like, I'm just that kind of guy.
It's fine. Our friend Pinkuboa is doing another Dream Diary jam. That's a jam for Yume Nikki fan games. Details are scant at the moment, but that's happening in May. So go to pinkuboa.tumblr.com and check out her blog, see when that's all going to happen. I can't think of any other news at the moment. Did we want to talk about To the Moon's music controversy now, or when we actually talk about the game?
We can go ahead and talk about it now. I would say it's newsworthy.
I did not see the news thing about it, so you have to tell me about it too.
Okay, this was a couple months ago, but there was a Spanish artist named Fuego, I believe, and he basically took a song from To the Moon, rapped over it. I don't get trap music, I don't get it, but anyway, he rapped over it and put it on his YouTube channel, and not only did he do this, they had like a professionally done music video for this song, like with sports cars and beautiful women, and it got like 250,000 views. The problem is, one, he didn't have permission to sample the song, and number two, he didn't actually sample the song. He just rapped over the song unedited in full.
Yeah, he just took the entire song and just went over top of it, rather than taking bits and pieces, which even then, he still didn't have permission to do. And it was taken down, right? Like you were saying before, the video did get taken down? Yeah,
it got taken down from YouTube because I tried to go to Kan Gao's, the designer for Freebird Games. I went to his Twitter and found the tweet and clicked on the YouTube thing and like the video's not available. Well, shit. and you know, thanks to the modern internet, like since that has been deleted, I can't find it again. I look up To the Moon copyright infringement in Google and it just gives me shit about copyright infringement. I tried to look up Freebird Games copyright infringement or like Spanish rapper takes song from To the Moon and like just
Yeah. Now, thankfully, I still had a record of when I was talking, because actually a friend of mine knows, well, not like doesn't know Fuego, but like listens to Fuego on occasion, so they knew exactly who that was. So that was really funny too. And he's like, "Oh, well, that sucks." Like, yeah, but glad that something did get done though, and he didn't just get away with that.
Yeah, they donated the proceeds to a Canadian charity.
Okay.
Yeah, Extra Life for Kids, I believe.
That's interesting. It's the first time, as far as I know, anything like that has happened.
Yeah, and if you ask me, like, I cannot think of any music from the game that is rappable. Like, I we play the same game, right? And we're listening to the same music. And, like, I can't find anything there that's rappable.
You see, Robin, it's not called rap music. It's called trap music. And I don't know...
Oh.
It's like, I don't know if it means trance rap or whatever, but basically it's what all the kids are into now. It's the new big thing where
yeah, the traps where the boys look like the girls and
not wrong trap.
Oh,
wrong trap.
No, this is like you hear a beat and you rap over it, just whatever comes to mind in real time, right? Like there's not supposed to be a structure. It's totally top of mind. And then they auto-tune it and whatever to make it sound really good.
Oh, man. No, that auto-tuning takes it over the top. That sucks. Jeez.
Yeah, but that's what all the kids are into right now. And like...
I guess.
It doesn't tell a story. It doesn't have a whole lot of structure, but it is authentic. It is authentically what came out of these people's mouths. And, I mean... I'm sure there's better ways to be authentic, but whatever. Like, if you like trap music, please... leave your thoughts on trap in the comments below. I am genuinely curious.
Yes, and we'll add video to it with race cars and women and everything, and blackjack and hookers.
Trap music's pretty good.
I don't know. Don't listen to it. Don't care. If it's got words in it, I probably don't listen to it.
Oh boy,
that's the ultimate hipster right there.
Yeah, sure.
We ready to talk about the actual game?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So, To the Moon is a game made in the best RPG Maker, RPG Maker XP.
Uh-huh.
It was done by Freebird Games, and it stars two doctors, Dr. Neil Watts and Dr. Ava...
It starts with an R. I don't remember her last name. It starts with an R.
Ava Rosenbaum. So, sure, whatever.
Sure.
So Dr. Watts and Dr. Redstone go into the memories of a Johnny H. Wiles. They fulfill dying people's wishes by going into their memories and rewriting them so that they die happily. And Mr. Wiles' wish was to go to the moon. And so you spend the game going back through Johnny's memories, assembling artifacts to try and construct a chain of memories that makes him believe that he did in fact go to the moon. What I will say about this game is that its visceral elements are really good. Like, the maps all look amazing. The palettes that it uses, like, it uses kind of a limited 16-bit style palette. It's not just like, pixels. It's actually got like a strong theme with its colors. And the music is fantastic.
Yeah, music is really good. It gets a little repetitive, but it's really, really good.
Yeah, especially if you add trap music over it.
Yeah, because there's even one track that's really just doom doom, and even that sounded good.
I'm just gonna point out, for the sake of like my stupid mind, that like they're basically the opposite of the Men in Black. They even have like a reverse neuralizer. It gives you memories. Ooh, Doctors in White.
We are the dogs in white.
Yeah, the game itself.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, but the game itself was very well presented visually, and like I said, with the music and everything. Pretty much everything had a sound effect, which was really nice, except for saving. I don't remember, or it was like a really minor one. But for the most part, as far as like the actual presentation goes, it was very, very nice. I liked it. It drew me in fairly immediately. They did some interesting things with eventing, and just kind of how the whole story was told. That everything kind of came together in a really neat way, so that, like I said, visually, I was never really taken too far out of the game.
Yeah. I also liked a lot of the kind of animation techniques. I was reminded of FF6, because like the characters kind of bounce and hop around, and those were very FF6 to me. And there's also a couple custom emotion sprites in there, which really helps.
It's true, and then they'll do the thing too that they did in 6, where they like will stand in one direction, but then like look in a different direction, which is a really minor thing, but it really helps to present the characters where they're like, trying to leave, someone says something, and then they turn their head back toward whoever it was that it spoke, rather than just turning their whole body around, which is what generally you would have to do.
Yeah, if you were just using RTP, then you'd have to like flip the whole body around, and there's it's not as subtle, it's not as realistic.
Yeah. Right. So it went a long way to really helping the that whole believability as far as how the characters looked and acted and that kind of thing too. So I really did like that.
Yeah, because working in the PS1 version, let's use your example, like someone's about to leave and then someone calls out to them. Into the moon, they can be facing the door and looking to the side to hear that person. But if you're using just like the flat RTP, you're not going to turn the whole body sideways, because that looks stupid.
Right.
Either A, you flip them a full 180 degrees to politely face the person, or you keep them facing the door and make them seem really cold and callous.
Yep.
And when you have the ability to just turn the head, that means that if someone calls out to them and they're still facing the door, it means all that much more.
Yep. Yeah, no, and it worked very, very well for that presentation, so...
Another thing that I caught on to, I don't know if you guys did too, but there were a couple times where they would put in sound cues with the dialogue. So like someone would say something heavy and then there'd be a doom.
I did not catch on to that.
I did not also.
there was a handful of times where it happened. Like the one I have in my notes is they're talking to old Johnny. They went through his memories as far back as they could, and then they went back to like yesterday. So they were talking to Johnny as of yesterday, and they were explaining, you know, how he's just a reconstruction. They haven't actually altered the real Johnny's memories yet.
Mm-hmm.
They said, you know, basically you're a copy, and he said, "Is that all I am?" And then you hear like a doom. And I forget how the music worked there. Either the sound effect worked really well with the music, or they just straight up changed the music. Because that happens a couple times too, where as you're walking between rooms, like music will fade.
Mm-hmm. And that I did notice. And yeah, they did a very good job with the sound. I'm just not a very sound-oriented person, so that's why I didn't pick up on such a thing. But a lot of the more obvious ones I definitely did, and they did do a really good job with their sound design.
Yeah,
there's subtle things that are very likable. I'll tell you my favorite thing, though. The puzzles are actually good in this game. Spoilers, there are puzzles in this game. And they're actually sensible. Like, oh, the start is very easy, and it gets progressively harder. And even though it's the same puzzle, it's like very engaging, I guess. Is that the word? Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
It's very engaging when like you're solving this. And I don't know about you guys, I've not gone over the quota for any of them.
Oh, you hit them all at par?
Yeah.
Nice job.
So I never found out what happens if you go over the par.
Nothing.
Oh, not. It doesn't even make you start over again or something.
Nope.
Nope.
Nope. The second one, I think, the first one I got, or it was like the second or third. It was one of the earlier ones. I kind of screwed it up, and then also because I was playing on the Steam box, there's like a half-second delay. So sometimes I would like flip a row, try to flip the next row, but my input for like the flip would go in before I actually moved, so it would just reflip the same row I was already on. So there's a couple of them where I was behind. The only problem I had with the puzzles, and Cody had this in his notes as well, is that 90% of those puzzles you just start with the corner flip and then you can just solve it, and it's very obvious. Very few didn't use the corner flip. The puzzles were still interesting and I did like them. And I was basically the entire time going like, how did they do this with events? Let me see if I can deconstruct this with my brain.
It's kind of like a God of War or Honey Pop, where the puzzles aren't the point, but they are a welcome break from what you are there for.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because like, if you made it fucked up, you can just unfuck yourself, right?
Yeah, you just flip it back around again.
Yep.
Okay, because I thought it'd make you start over again. Like, oops, you went over par. Guess you got to start over again. But no, it's actually a lot more lenient than I thought. Because I was afraid I'd have to start over with those.
Yeah. No, they're just like, all right, you should be able to solve this in 4 moves, and it's like, oh well, it took you 7. Oh well, you still did it. Good job, buddy.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. And the best part about those puzzles is they were very clear. All the pieces were in place. They didn't fucking block my way. There was no stupid reason for them to be there. Like that fucking bookcase. We do not speak about the bookcase ever again.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing about To the Moon is a lot of the time it made sure to make its intentions clear. Like, are you sure you want to progress? Yes, and this is how you're going to progress, is you're going to solve this puzzle. And something I'll touch on a little bit more in the criticism section, but no, like the game really tried to make itself accessible and clear. Like, are you sure you want to leave? Because if you're not sure, you should go back now and talk to people, and then you can leave. And like, are you sure you want to warp to the next memory? Because once you do, you can't be here anymore. So you better check yourself before you wreck yourself, sister.
It's true. Well, I'll touch on that more also in the criticisms, but no, it was very clear when the story was going to progress, for the most part. There were a couple scenes where not, but for the most part, it was very good about making sure that you were aware that, okay, once you do this, you're moving on to the next piece. Are you ready? Okay, good, let's go.
One more thing I like. The game has autosave. That's a good feature. to have in an RPG.
That is true. I never utilized it. And I actually did not notice there was an autosave until I was basically almost done with the game. But
Yeah.
But it is neat to have. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Even me, like, I grew up on Game Boy RPGs from the early 90s, where you could save anywhere, and you were supposed to save everywhere.
Yep.
And even me, the guy who grew up in that era, I lapse, and autosave is very useful for those occasions. And, like, I can see it being more useful in, like, an RPG where there is a failure state, you know, where you can lose.
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's say it automatically saves when you stay at the inn. Okay, cool. And then if you die, like if you aren't thinking about it and you die, well, at least you still have your last inn stay saved, which means you're not too far behind.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those types are very interesting, and it's something I'll probably honestly use moving forward, just because it makes everything easier for the player. It's just artificial difficulty if you don't have something like that, to be honest. I mean, I get that it can be part of the game and how it works, but autosaves just help to kind of alleviate that, because I am also extremely forgetful with RPGs, and I will play for like 3 or 4 hours, not save, accidentally fight something I'm not supposed to, get killed, and then, like, you know, lose several hours of progress, and then put the game down for like 2 weeks.
What the fuck?
Yeah. That's me. Just staring at the screen, being like, this is fucking bullshit. I quit.
That's still a lot better than me, where it's like, okay, I made a lot of progress. All right, did I save? I guess I did. Close game. Open game? Oops. Guess I didn't save. Lost my 2 hours of work.
Oh, shit.
God damn it.
Yeah, I had a friend that, and this is like a totally an aside, but just on saves, who would get really close to the end of games, and the closer he would get, the more he would like be like actively playing them, to the point where he wouldn't like sleep when he should have. So there were a number of times on PS1 especially where he would start saving the game, and then you know how it says don't shut off the console while it's saving? He would do that and then lose everything because the save would get corrupted. He did that at least 3 times.
Oh boy. I remember a guy who was playing FF6, and oh boy, you know that one part where there's a save point and there's a chest, and if you open the chest, there's a dragon that murders you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He opens the chest, gets killed, rage quits for like a year, and then picks it up a year later, going like, oh, it's FF6, so why didn't I finish this? And then he goes up, goes to the chest again, and like, oh, a chest! I wonder what's inside! Fucking forgot. And he did this like 5 or 6 years in a row.
Oh, shit.
That's
Oh
awful.
boy.
Poor guy.
What a ride.
That's fucking amazing.
I guess you could say his feelings of rage went to the moon.
Well, you know what? At least he'll always treasure those memories.
If he
You'll need
treasured those memories, he'd remember the dragon.
Well, at least you're there to help him get it off his chest.
Oh boy.
All right, let's move on to characters now.
Yes.
Okay, so it's Eva Rosaline,
Best
by the way.
character.
Eva Rosaline is her last name.
Perfect.
Wow.
Rosenstein, got it.
Mm-hmm. All right, so as far as characters go, I did not like Neil. I'll just get that out of the way right now, because I know a lot of people do. He just felt like he was trying too hard to be the LOL random, let me connect with our players kind of guy. That was my thing for it. He didn't feel natural. It just kind of all felt forced, which, upon reflection, may have been the point, and I'll get to that later. But on the flip side, I really, really liked Ava, because, yeah, she was the straight man for most of it, but you also got hints of her being more than that, because there's the discussion with her and Neil about the piano, moving it upstairs. Well, they both start referencing Doctor Who, and so you can see that she's got a little bit of a, of a nerd side to her. She's also got a malicious side to her, making Neil eat the pickled olives to get the information from Johnny. So she's got some personality. She just hides it under that professional facade.
Yeah, she's really good at hiding her power level, as it were.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so it's just like the Men in Black.
Yeah. See, I didn't mind Neil so much, but, like, I view him, I guess, a little bit differently. What is it? What was I going to say? I see what you're saying with, like, Neil trying too hard. There's a point where you are using the memories to access the next location. He's, like, kamehamehaing or whatever.
Yeah.
But he started to grow on me near the end, and it's not so much what exactly happened, but I see what the developers were going for.
Right.
That sounds really weird to say, but that's kind of where I'm at. Is like, okay, yeah, he's effing random. Oh, okay, he's trying to make light of the situation. He's trying to, keep Ava in a good mood. Okay, cool. What this game taught me, really, and we are definitely going to get into this, is like there can be things that structurally just suck. Like, yeah, fucked up. This is not a good way to make a game. But your intentions were still clear, and it still worked towards resolving your story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely agree with that.
I think I know what you're talking about too. That
yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, we will definitely talk about that.
I think though, and then I'll be done and I'll let somebody else talk. The main thing that actually first set me off to Neil is I get that their whole job is to go to these people who are dying and fix their memories. But he had such like a lack of respect for for Johnny in general, that really just put me off to him from the start. Like, I get that's his character and that's how he deals with things. But the way that he spoke with, like, Lily and the doctor and all that, with just, again, a complete disregard for Johnny in general, just really did not sit well with me. And that, again, might just be me, but that put me on a sour note with him to begin with. And then when he started being haha silly with his Hadoukens and everything else, I was just kind of like, you're not really, like, winning me over here, boyo. But that's my piece on Neil. And again, once we get further into like some of the criticisms and developments, there's more to him. But that was my initial impressions. Okay, I'm done. I'll let somebody else.
All right. I actually like both of them, kind of. I liked Eva slower because she's like, she doesn't do much at the start, but she opens up later on, and it's interesting how she's really calm, except for Neil. When it comes to Neil, she's like, fuck you, Neil. Because it's like there's one point where they go to the next memory and they're like on top of a lighthouse, and Neil's like, oh my god, it's so far from the bottom. I can't jump. And then Eva just pushes him out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, they both know it's a simulation, but Neil's like, Eva, that's such a dick move.
That was hilarious. Going back to Neil real quick. Red Mage, did you select to have Neil walk around the house instead of Ava?
Nope, because he had already pissed me off by that point.
Wow, okay, yeah. See, I thought there was something that I wasn't seeing, because maybe you had picked Neil, but...
No.
He was like, nope.
Nope.
I agree that Neil was off-putting a number of times, but if I look at it from the developer's perspective, he accomplished his goal of being, I'm Neil, I know he's dying, he can't hear me, he doesn't give a fuck, let's have some fun. Which is totally... I know people like that, where they're cracking jokes when they shouldn't be cracking jokes, they have no idea how to read the room, as it were. So I get what they were going for, and while it wasn't perfectly executed, I was a little more stoic about it, I guess.
I mean, that's fair.
I also did like Ava. She definitely served as a great counterbalance to him. I caught the subtleties like you guys did. She was very well done. What I don't get is like her twist at the end where she kind of becomes evil. Did she think Neil was going to mess up her plan? Or did she just feel like toying with him?
As far as like when she was like basically just redoing everything in Johnny's memories.
And yeah, the zombie Avas appear.
The zombie Avas, okay.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later, guys.
Well, when's later? We're 40 minutes in.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so my understanding of it was basically that leading up until that point, Ava was like, hey, I've got to do this. You know, this is the only thing we can do to make it work. And then Neil was like, okay, no, we can't just go ahead and take out a major part of his life like that. So he was, like, opposed to it. So rather than, like, waiting for discussion and trying to, like, win Neil over, she's just like, no, I'm going to do this. Don't get in my way while I'm fixing it. That part was a little out of character, I guess, because, I mean, you had seen how driven she was prior to just get the job done. And so, you know, especially that, this show's really good at the end of Act 1, where she's just frantically going back, changing something, coming back to seeing if it works, you know, and hopping back. And then, you know, Neil puts on his NASA recruiter performance in the school, which was that was really kind of funny. But you can see how dedicated she is to getting the job done. I just feel like with as well as she knows Neil, she could also know that he wouldn't budge on the topic, so she just decided to do it. But yeah, then all of the traps and everything that she made for him, just so that he couldn't get to her, was kind of a little silly. I mean, it broke up the gameplay a little bit, but at the same time, it also just felt like it was padding for time at the same time.
Yeah. Oh. And touching on characters one final time before we actually start spoiling the game. We're gonna spoil the game, by the way.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Jump to a timestamp in the future, I guess.
I really did enjoy just how hard Ava and Neil were trying to convince Johnny to go to the moon. Because, like, as you said, like, Neil put his NASA recruiter performance in with, like, Johnny's high school members. Like, hey, you kids should all try and be astronauts. Yeah! And then there's that point where, like, it's where Johnny and his wife, River, are going horseback riding. And Neil just appears on a pony riding backwards going, free pony rides on the moon!
Oh, God. Though, I think that's everyone's favorite part, but I could not help but yell at the screen, going like, Neil, goddammit, stop! Stop! I know you're a great guy, but jeez.
It was just really just kind of silly at that point that they were just going to the most ridiculous lengths. And I think, too, it may also have been implied that they were trying for a lot longer than it actually showed, which may have also led to Ava just being like, you know what, fuck it. I'm gonna fix everything right now.
Yeah, take note, like, at this point in the story, they've been, like, trying to do this, like, the entire night. And they have no coffee.
Yeah.
That is true.
No, Ava has no coffee.
Neil was complaining, this is probably going to be an all-nighter. We should have brought coffee.
Well, yeah, but in the morning, because they did pull an all-nighter, Neil has coffee and doesn't share it with Ava.
That's true. Because he leaves for a second for something's like, and then he comes like sprinting back in. He's like, I forgot my coffee. And then he leaves again. And he was just like, oh, okay, sure.
Bitch.
Yeah, Neil had coffee and Eva had roadkill. Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh boy.
Okay, so let's touch on the story here. So I'm gonna just kind of dash through the major beats here.
Sure.
Yes.
So again, spoilers. If you're still listening and you haven't played the game, and you go, well, why did they review that? It's your own fucking fault. I'm not dealing with that shit.
It's a good game. It's a good game if you wanted to score.
Yeah, so Johnny wants to go to the moon. It's not established to the player why.
And at that point, he doesn't know why himself. He just says he wants to go to the moon.
Well, that's all.
Yeah.
No. Like, Lily says he wants to go to the moon, and they go, okay. Like,
yeah, but... Right.
Oh, you mean... Okay, no, yeah, at the very beginning.
Because he himself wasn't sure why he wanted to go at the time.
Okay, so they established that at some point, but okay, great. So, Johnny wants to go to the moon. 2 years ago, his wife River died, and River loves lighthouses, and that's why Johnny built her a house next to a lighthouse, and blah, blah, blah. As they're going through his memories, you know, through adulthood, through high school, through childhood, There's not a single goddamn thing about astrology, space, the moon, nothing. It's all about River, his wife. What comes up as you go through all these memories is that River has some sort of mental disorder. It's heavily implied to be Asperger's, so she's on the autism spectrum somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And dealing with that has its own set of problems, and as far as Johnny's concerned, his life sucks. River is a very difficult woman, and he worked really hard to win her over, and even the doctors are like, damn, why is he with this annoying shrew of a woman?
Yeah, everybody that they talk to is like, it takes a lot of patience to be with that, and there's like one scene in there is like, I know, sometimes I don't know that I have the patience for this. So he knew that he was struggling through this. He still loved her, but it was just very difficult, so...
Yeah. Using some convenient plot magic, and by that I mean a piece of roadkill outside, they connect his earliest memories to meeting River at a fair at a very young age. Apparently, Johnny consciously has forgotten about this meeting, which is why he couldn't explain why he wanted to go to the moon, but basically, they meet at, like, age 6 at a fair, and they fall in love in the way 6-year-olds fall in love, and they agree that if they ever lose each other, they'll find each other again on the moon.
Yep.
So, it's still about his fucking wife. But
yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, that's what he wants, is to basically just to be reunited with River. But that memory that he has buried so deep has basically put him to being, instead of just being together with River, he wants to go to the moon because that's where his deep rooted, but also completely forgotten memories are telling him where she will be.
Yeah, and so the thing Red Mage was hinting at earlier is that Ava decides, without Neil, to delete his memory of River. Like, straight up. So, her plan to send Johnny's ass to the moon is to keep the original meeting between Johnny and River, and then wipe her out later so that he doesn't spend his time with her. He spends it trying to become an astronaut. And of course, Neil really disagrees with this, but this is where the game hits the hardest. This is like, boom! Everyone in the game knows, and the person playing probably knows, like, River is just difficult. Like,
yes.
I can't really say she's a bitch, but I mean, like, oh.
What do you mean, Cody? You said it here in your notes.
The song title's cliche. What does this rabbit mean, John? What's it mean? So, tell me about the rabbits, Sean! But anyway, so deletes her, except for the original meeting. And I was like, holy shit! Because, I mean, yes, I wasn't a huge fan of River, but Johnny cared!
Yep.
Johnny fucking cared! I believed that he cared! I cared about a fucking video game! And after Ava does this, like, it fast-forwards all the events. They don't go to the fair again. They drive by it. Johnny goes through high school normally. He goes to NASA. And they have this nice, somber piano tune playing like it's the end. And I'm like, you can't fucking do this, game!
Yep.
And the memories, then, were Ava maintained the ideal of River in his head without actually having to deal with the reality of her situation and putting him through that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and it was a very interesting way that they went about that. Now, one thing that was skipped over, and I just want to add this little bit in. Originally, when they were hopping back through his memories, because what they try to do, basically plot-wise, is connect his desire as an old man and plant it basically in his earliest memories, but they couldn't get to his childhood because it was all like broken and distorted, and there just wasn't any way that they could get into his childhood memory, so they tried to implant it as a teenager, but at that point he had already like been with River, so they couldn't like deviate from that because his love for River was strong enough, and it was also, again, what he was trying to just do anyway by getting to the moon was to be with River. And so that convenient roadkill that was mentioned, basically during that memory where they couldn't go back any further, there was a really nasty smell afoot, which was roadkill. They used that magic science bullshit to trigger a reaction from him to get into his childhood memories, and they found out at one point he had a twin brother named Joey, who basically was out playing soccer And there's actually some interesting commentary there, too, because Neil comments that there's so many of Johnny afoot, but it's just because, Joey was out there, too, which was kind of funny. But anyway, so Joey gets hit by a car, his mother, actually, who accidentally backs into him on her way to go get groceries, kills his twin brother, which then just completely fractures his mother's psyche, who then begins to refer to Johnny as Joey. And so basically in his home, Johnny never existed anymore at that point and was forced to basically eat his brother's favorite food, which was pickled olives, which is disgusting. And then, even later on at the wedding, they mentioned that, his mother had given him an Animorphs book, which is something that he really liked as a kid, but it was Joey that did. And so, there's this really deep-seated problem that occurred in Johnny's history that they used beta blockers to fix, which doesn't do that in reality. But at the time, I don't know if when they made the game, if that's what science was leaning towards. I don't know. But that whole, plot point kind of, made Johnny into who he was at that point and caused him to forget a lot of the early stuff about River, which caused a lot of her frustration with him, but she couldn't communicate it properly because she had Asperger's. It's just a huge compounded problem that was all together. Okay, sorry, I'm done. I just wanted to bring Joey back into it because when Ava, fixes his memories, she also brings Joey back to life as well. So he is with his brother throughout his entire life now.
I'd like to point out the NASA thing, right? River shows up there, but at that point in NASA, it's completely fabricated because that's the idealized dream, right? Yep. He's on his way to the moon. He's getting ready to go to the moon, right?
And of course he meets the love of his life, as he's about to go to the moon.
Yeah, it's a better love story than Twilight. The River that's there is the idealized version. So there's no more of the stupid bullshit, I guess, that RM and Cody had a problem with previously because that wasn't the River that was there. It was the idealized, in Johnny's memory completely kind of River, right?
Yep.
So only the good stuff came in.
Yeah, because basically what I imagined happened, and a lot of this is just armchair theorizing because nothing in this game has come out and said. It's all just, I'm pretty sure this is what they meant, and you might be right, you might not be. But much like how those original memories of River were lost because of the beta blockers, all of the actual memories that he had weren't deleted, but they were basically just suppressed. So he still had all of this love for River that was just floating somewhere in the fragments of his old memories. So when she showed, basically his will was so strong in that it basically just forced her to appear. And even Ava and Neil talk about that because she's expecting River to be somewhere in NASA, and she's just it's not here. It's not here either. And Neil's what the hell are you talking about? But she just gambled on the fact that, that Johnny's memories and love of her would be so strong that he would basically force her to appear in this idealized dream of his. And she did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's something the game did really well is the anticipation. It leaves you just right on the cusp of that. So when you think the game's over because they erased River from the memory, and then you're at NASA, and Ava's well, it's not here. Well, what's not here? Oh, look who it is! Right on time! It's River!
Yep.
Not a second too late.
It's true.
Yep. It's perfect form River, with none of the bullshit.
This is my 100% perfect
River.
final form.
Ultra Instinct River.
Yeah, pretty much.
There are so many nitpicks about this game that I have because I shared my essay with both Robin and Red Mage, but as far as the ending goes, the ending is perfect. River shows up at the exact right time. She and Johnny go through the NASA training together. They go to the moon in a shuttle. Someone else is piloting. River looks over at him. They begin to hold hands, and then you hear boop, boop, boop. Holy shit!
Yeah, that was worrying when that happened. Because, he is dying at that moment. And, the heart monitor's going red. And, the simulation is starting to, kind of fail. Because he's not got long. Oh man, it's hard for me to explain.
There's a lot of emotion going on in that one moment because
It's a lot. It's really strong.
And
you
like
guys should
Cody
play
said,
it yourself. It's not easy.
yeah, no, definitely, it's definitely a game to play. For that ending scene alone, putting up with, and we'll get to the grievances in a moment, but putting up with all of the things leading up to it, that ending was very, very powerful. Because, like Cody said, you go through this instance where Ava eliminates River from his life, and you're like, okay, I mean, I guess that is the way to do this, but Jesus Christ, you can't just do that to the guy. And you get to see how his life played out, and everything is just building and building and building, and then he dies. Like, it's just a constant ramp up from that point all the way until the very end. It is very well done.
Oh boy, yeah.
Who the fuck was it? There was Rob McKee, screenwriter. He says, "Wow him in the end," and that wowed me in the end.
Yep.
It made the journey worth it. Because I'm on the cusp of talking about grievances, but I want to leave room for you guys. But I will say about the ending, like that heart monitor stuff. Mm-hmm. Another nice touch that Freebird did was as his heart monitor stops, the beep, right? Mm-hmm. You notice that the violin fades in on that exact note.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep.
As Johnny's final note is playing, the first note of the credits is fading in.
Huh.
And again, they know how to hit their notes. They don't half-ass their emotional beats.
Absolutely. No, it was a very, very wild ride to the ending.
It kind of forgave Act 1, because Act 1 is like, okay, I get the game, I understand it, and then they twist it, and then they just flip it on its head, like... It had really good discipline in that regard, because it kept you intrigued, but it didn't give away much of the ending up until, Act 2 and Act 3 happened.
Right. Problems. All right, I had many nitpicks, but I will let somebody else go first.
I also encountered some problems.
All right. Did y'all want me to start?
Sure.
Sure, because you're the one who controlled with mostly a mouse, so you probably had the least problems.
Hopefully.
Yes. So that is the big thing about To the Moon's design, is that it is filled with what I would call mapping porn. The palettes, the colors, the lighting. Visually, it is a treat. It is an absolute delight to look at. It is a perfect complement to the music and the atmosphere. But all of those doodads and stuff, like, that's why I don't like mapping porn from a design standpoint, is because now you have all these weird-ass tiles, and, like, what can I interact with? What can I walk around? What's going to block my path? And To the Moon's solution to this was mouse control. Thanks to the magic of mouse control, you can move the mouse around and discover very quickly what is interactable and what is not. It doesn't matter that you put a shit ton of flowers in the middle of a path that someone with a controller would have to walk around. You have implemented mouse control so that people can quickly decipher the important bits of the map and continue with the game. But that's me, not these two clowns.
Hello.
I told them about the mapping porn. I told them about the mouse control, and they decided to use a regular input system anyhow. Gentlemen, tell me how that works.
You asked us to check it out with like controller and keyboard, yo.
I asked you to check it out, not to beat the fucking game that way.
Oh boy, you got your comeuppance later on though, right? With those traps, yeah. Have fun going like reverse FPS with that. WAS to attack and mouse to move, dipshit.
Well, the funny thing about that is it tells you controls arrow keys. Like, it wants you to use the arrow keys for the point where you're launching plants at zombie Avas. But then, like, after the first sequence of that, another cool thing about To the Moon's design is after every single cutscene ends, it tells you when you're back in control. It says, use mouse to move. Well, after your first cutscene in that Plants vs. Zombies section, it says control with mouse. But you don't want to control with the mouse because you're still hucking plants at people.
Right. I was on a keyboard at that point because I didn't want to rig up the Steam control because I'd finish it this morning. But throughout the game, With the exception of a few areas, I really didn't have much of a problem in identifying what was the important bits. Basically, I checked anything that looked even remotely interesting. I remember there was one at one point when they were adults but not old. One of the keys is Johnny's backpack, and it blended like so well into the background. It took me like a good 5 or 10 minutes to find. That one was probably the worst of it. Other than that, I honestly didn't have that big of a difficulty, but I can imagine that it would have been so much easier when I could just mouse over and be like, okay, this is interactable, and not just have to guess.
Okay, my problems then. Now.
Okay.
Okay. So because I'm a very efficient person when it comes to walking around and exploring, I cannot tell you how many times I have been stopped by a plant that blends in with a path.
Yeah.
Or a log or a rock or whatever. I remember in like the post-marriage scene, right? There's one point where you have to walk from the dining tables to the tower. To the lighthouse,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I remember walking north, getting stopped like 3 times because the logs blocked my path every time. And I thought, okay, I'll just sidestep 1 tile. Nope, another log. Oops, there's a rock. Oh, this patch of grass is a little too tall.
Yeah, those tables were a nightmare.
Fucking... Oh, but if you're using a mouse, that's no problem. The auto-walking will just go right around it.
Yeah!
Yeah.
It was really great.
Yeah, but I think that's another thing we can all share grievances on. Because, like, the walk speed is not what I'd like. I wish the walk speed was faster.
Yeah, I definitely do too. The walk speed was so slow. As far as gameplay goes, honestly, the only real thing, and Cody noted this too in his notes, the only thing I honestly, aside from the walk speed, had a problem with was the getting the links for the memory. They're not in order. You can find them randomly. So you don't even know if you're like progressing properly, because I would like go and check something and I would get like link number 3 out of 5. And I'm like, did I miss the first 2? I don't know. And then I would go to like where like the plot was kind of pointing me to. It's like, oh, now there's 1 and 2. I don't know why those 2 are after the ones that are nearest to the player when they start. And it just felt random in that point. And then once you had all 5, in order to like actually activate the thing that lets you travel back, you have to hit enter, 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 enter to get to the thing to break. Then there's usually dialogue, and then you have to interact with it, and then you have to say yes that you want to use it. It's like, can I just go? Can I please just go?
Oh, Red Mage, you forgot. You have to detect the memento, and then you have to select to activate it.
Oh, that's true.
So,
yes, there's even more.
Yeah, and then you beat the puzzle. Are you sure you want to activate it? Yes.
I have a feeling that has something to do with the autosave.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a possibility. It was kind of sucky, though.
Yeah, no. If it were me designing the game, what I would have done is basically just made it so because I never actually even checked if you could otherwise. If you didn't have all 5, you couldn't interact with it at all. Like, it just wouldn't work. And then if you had all 5, you hit enter once, and it goes plink, 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 and then that's the end of it. And then take out a couple of those decisions, because just getting close to it to activate it should just be automatic. It should just go. It should just do. Because, jeez, hitting that button so many times is just like, okay, I got it. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, and if they wanted to do dialogue, because there are a couple times, Neil's messing around, he goes like, Hadouken or whatever.
Right.
Like, they could just make that a dialogue sequence, like, as he's doing it.
Yes. It felt unnecessary to me as a whole, but that was honestly probably my biggest gameplay grievance. I do have one story grievance that's pretty major, and interestingly enough, it also coincides with like one of my favorite parts, which is the ending. Because while I really enjoyed it, and it was a very well done ending, it hit all the emotions that it needed to, and it was a roller coaster, and it was great. As a player, I felt like once it was all said and done, they solved the problem, but they didn't like resolve anything. Instead of like being able to like fix it, they just removed the problem, which was River, and just went a completely different route. It's like, okay, well, we need to go through the forest to get to the other side. And they're like, what if we went around? And they're just like, yeah, okay. And I never got to see the forest. I never got to see things being fixed in his life. I got to see something completely different. And I get that's kind of the point, but I just felt unfulfilled with it. Like, once all of the emotions had kind of run their course.
The way they framed the To the Moon ending with, like, the song going, you get just as much of Johnny and Joey interacting as you do of all the opportunities where he totally missed out on River. Another big thing about that is you don't really hear about Johnny's interests. Like, he wrote a song on piano, and that's cool, but, like, Joey's the one who wanted to be an author. Joey's the one who liked Animorphs. Joey's the one who likes pickled olives. So you really see more growth out of Joey than you do out of Johnny, because Johnny's all about being an astronaut now.
Again, I get it. It worked. It was a very emotional roller coaster, but it felt like there was something just missing here. It didn't feel like I was, like, getting anything from the game. It felt like everything that I'd done up until that point, and everything that I had seen up until that point, was absolutely pointless.
Yeah, because the way they framed the whole game was around River. It wasn't about Johnny to begin with. And because we don't actually get to interact with Johnny while he's alive, it's hard to integrate him into the story, really. Because, like, if I were making the game, it would be more about what Johnny wants, and you would get to see the payoff, as it were. But the way Freebird developed this game, it was about River. It wasn't about Johnny. He's not the main character. You think he is, but he's not.
Yeah. And again, it was good. I really enjoyed it, but yeah, that ending just felt like everything that we had learned about River and all the interactions that they had, and getting to learn about like their origins and why she's so obsessed with the rabbit. Like, all of that was really interesting to me. And then the ending is just, okay, ignore all that though. We'll just take River out and give you a new story. And it fulfilled the wish, and it did everything it was supposed to do, and everything connects. I just felt like they were just kind of gypping me a little bit on the story. But that was my biggest story grievance, is just that I felt like that ending could have been handled differently, especially because if they can alter memories, why not have it be so that River is diagnosed early and she ends up like his best friend's, girlfriend, who's able to act normally and deal and be able to hide, I guess, the autism, which I know is kind of the point that she shouldn't need to. But there could have been a number of other ways to still resolve the situation between Johnny and River, and that was probably also a bad way, but but there could have been something with all of the power that they have in manipulating this. There should have been something else they could have did to keep the story more consistent and not just write a whole new story right at the last minute.
Yeah. What I was thinking in that regard is when River dies 2 years before Johnny croaks, that would be a good point to implant some kind of memory about the moon and remembering why he wanted to go there.
I don't know. I think I'd have to disagree about that solution, because it literally doesn't send him to the moon. And like Eva said, it's their job.
Right.
For those two, the goal is we gotta get him to the moon.
Right.
I think that's one of the cruxes, because like Eva kind of made it a point at that one time where like, we gotta send him to the moon, Neil. But this is morally wrong. We gotta send him to the fucking moon, Neil.
Right.
Fuck you.
I have been up all night. You have not shared your coffee. We are sending him to the fucking moon.
Oh boy. Yeah. I mean, at that point, you would think like, oh man, it's actually kind of like sucky that River is not around for these important parts of Johnny's life.
Right.
And I can understand that point of view. But like, if she stuck around, if she's like diagnosed early, etc., they would fail at their job and get fired for sure.
Yeah, because I would not succeed in getting into the moon before he died. So,
Yeah.
because the doctor even says something about that too, where he was. There's a couple points where they thought they were going to lose him during the night. So, that was basically their rush patch job, so that they could just succeed, be done, collect their paycheck, move on. But like I said, just as a player, as a reader, logistically, logically, everything checks out, everything's fine. I just felt unfulfilled. And that's just my own personal grievance.
All right.
I think you're right to feel unfulfilled, because like part of you wants it to be like Rivers all better and stuff, like because that's what this machine is like. It's like a big what if machine.
Exactly.
Right? But the thing is, he wrote on the contract, send me to the fucking moon. That's what they gotta do.
Right, exactly.
On this dotted line, it says, Mr. Johnny, you wanted to be sent on the moon. Doesn't say you want to be with your wife happily ever after.
Right.
No. So to the moon you go.
Yeah, and from their perspective, again, they had been up all night, like, curing River, like, imagine they meet in high school, and, Johnny wants to ask her out, and it's like, hey, surprise, I'm cured, and I'm a functioning human being. Great! That doesn't mean they're going to the moon!
Right.
Like,
yeah.
The little kid ideal of, if I ever lose you, meet me on the moon, that would be the strongest emotion, that would be the most effective way to get him to want to go there.
Yep.
Robin, did you have any nitpicks?
Yeah, I have a nitpick with your note saying River's a bitch. There's a couple of things, I guess, like the mapping is very pretty, very easy to trip over and stop.
Yeah.
That's my nitpick, I guess. There's one other thing. Like, there's collectibles, right? There's items and there's notes. Mm-hmm. You get like a lot of notes, and you get like what, 4 items?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a wasted thing, if I think about it like that.
Yeah, and there's also not a whole lot of use to any of those really either.
Yeah, I guess. I enjoyed having the notes around because, like, in case I was stupid, which could happen, and like I forgot stuff, the notes would be like to remind you, hey, Neil's a cool guy and totally not a village idiot like it said before.
Going back to the design in general, there's a couple holes, because this is my thing. Not only, I guess, am I the audio guy, I'm the nitpick guy. There were a couple parts in the end that were definitely rushed, because they were also rushed in the minisode, where there are events that you need to activate, but they don't have a graphical icon. You have to walk over them, or you have to make a conscious effort to check them. There's a couple things like that it would be easier for him to fix those than it is for me to learn how to have emotions. Another thing is, like, Johnny's heart monitor doesn't fucking mean anything. It's green, and then there's a point where it's red.
Yeah, when they introduced it, I thought they were gonna like have things with it. So like, if you took too long or if you fucked up somewhere, like you could like actively game over yourself. But no, it's just kind of there. It doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, there's no side quest where you have to gather like green and yellow and red herbs to mix together and shove it down his throat or whatever.
Yeah, and like the animation itself doesn't change, the speed doesn't change.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the same heartbeat graphic, and then at some point it turns red, and oh shit, now it's red.
I guess you could use it to like gauge how close you are to the ending.
Like a number of things in here, it felt like these were things that they included with the intention to do more with, and then either ran out of time or forgot or, whatever. And so like the basic parts of it were still there, but it never got utilized for anything more.
It has impact until you realize it doesn't have any impact.
Exactly. That's a very good way of putting it.
Yeah, and like there's a couple points in the beginning where you're given some choices. Like when you first, get all set up, you can choose to have either Neil or Ava wander around the house.
Mm-hmm.
Did that do anything?
I have a feeling there are different dialogues depending on who you take with you.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably it. I don't imagine there's a lot more than just.
I mean, like,
talking.
okay, Red Mage, you took Ava for that choice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you were heading to the lighthouse, did you come across a squirrel?
See, I did, and here's the thing. I remember because my wife played this like 2, 3, 4 years ago, and I remembered like the little battle that occurred right there. So I was curious if they would let me skip the squirrel, and it did. So I never got to see the squirrel scene because I didn't know if it would actually let me
What a
pass
lame
it, and it did. I forgot to mention that. That was actually something I was just curious about, and then sure enough, I could.
Oh yeah, I did quote unquote battle the squirrel.
What an amazing final battle, Shin Suzaku over there.
Not only that, but like the kids wanting the candy cane, like that is required to advance the game is you have to address this situation, and I said, fuck it, I'll give him 5 candy canes later, whatever.
Right, that's what I did too. I was just curious what would happen if I just said no, and then Ava's just like, "Well, we'll let Dr. Watts buy you as many as you'd like later," and they were just like, "Oh, really?" I'm like, cool, move past it. Next.
Yeah, and again, I mean, maybe that's to encourage replayability, but
I guess
it's also in the beginning, so
right.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like. I mean, the choices were there. Again, it's one of those things that felt like they were going to be impactful until they weren't, and they didn't do like anything. So,
yeah. And then one more oversight, which just stop it, Cody. And one more oversight. I don't know if you guys have played the Lunar series too terribly much, but
I've played Eternal Blue, and I'm working through Silver Star Story.
Okay, cool.
I have heard many stories about Lunar from you.
Okay, well then you'll remember that the first town in Lunar, like, there are people who have up to like 10 different dialogues based on where you're at in the story and who's in your party and how often you talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
And in this game, people that have, big long things that they have a second thing that they say that's a lot shorter, and okay, cool, you need that. But there's a couple points in the game where the situation will change, but the dialogue doesn't update.
Yep.
After the all-nighter, like the medical doctor says, "Oh, I think Neil's in a phone call." And there's a point where he ends the phone call and he's like in the main lobby. But again, like what Red Mage was saying, the game expects you to just go talk to Neil. But you can go back upstairs and talk to the doctor. The doctor will be like, "Oh, I think he's in a phone call."
Right. There's also, interestingly enough, speaking of that, and this is another nitpick that I had because this makes me cringe as a developer. Once you've completed like your recon with Ava and you come back in and Neil's all set up on the little computer dealie, if you go over and you talk to them first before talking to the doctor like you're supposed to, it shows Eva's name and the sprite changes to Eva. So there's 2 Evas present in the game for a very short time.
Oh shit!
Yeah, that was I saw that and I was just like, oof. You playtesters, you missed this.
Oh shit, man. Wow, because I didn't have one that bad. The other nitpick I was going to bring up is like there's the pictures in Johnny's bedroom. Like there's a lighthouse, there's 3 people, there's the bunny, and there's one other one. Those dialogues never update, even after the all-nighter and the doctors go through all of his memories, so they would know. I mean, at the very least, they would understand that they've seen the bunny before. And they would understand who the 3 people in the picture are, because I can tell it's Johnny, River, and their friend Nicholas.
Right.
And you would think, after going through his memories, Ava would update her thoughts on those pictures, because that would be a very nice touch.
Yeah, for sure. And as we say very, very often in these podcasts, it's the little things that really kind of bring everything together. And while the majority of the game is a really good, solid game, these little things just kind of drag it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually expected, like, between memory hops, like, they would be allowed to go back to the normal world for a rest or something, or they talk about stuff. I guess not.
Yeah.
It's harder to program, I guess.
I also was expecting it would kind of work sort of like Chrono Trigger, like when it was first introduced, where you would like hop back and forth between these points, like change something in the past that updates something in the future, which you can then use to go further back into the past, and like play it that way. And then it was just like a straight line, and I was like, oh, okay. Again, no, that didn't really detract from it. That just would have been like a cool extra touch kind of thing.
I guess.
But all right, I'm running out of time, so you want to jump into the webisodes, the extra bits?
bunch of big UI issues in the minisodes.
Yeah.
And as far as the minisodes go, I got through the first one, not through the second one. It was cute.
Yeah, the first one, I think, pretty much the only real thing to establish. Okay, so Robin, you didn't get to play these. So basically...
Yeah, I did not play these two, because, like, I'm really lazy.
That's fine. So the minisodes were basically just after they had helped Johnny, they were back at their workplace, and apparently nobody needed help, so all of the doctors and all of their co-workers were all in the building, so they had like a little holiday party, because nobody needed to go out on a call. So they've got basically this thing set up as basically a Christmas without saying Christmas. And so they're going on and about, and basically Neil built a very shoddy game that was based on the events of To the Moon that you play through as Ava, and it's basically just you play as Neil, you dodge zombie Avas, and you basically get pieces of the plot to give to the proper NPCs, but like there's no dialogue. It's just very basic.
Yeah.
But it's just a very crash course retelling of the story. And then you also find out that aside from the people who are dying, the people who are dead, and their close family members, pretty much everybody else doesn't like what their company does. And they regularly get like pelted with tomatoes and other just nasty things whenever they go outside. There's protesters. And it's a very interesting thought that, you know, changing these memories might actually cause people to get upset, because who knows who might be forgotten, what might be changed, how they might remember somebody differently, you know, yada, yada, yada.
That's why we gotta send Johnny to the moon.
Yeah, what is the truth? But the truth doesn't always make us happy.
Right. Now, the second one, the first one didn't really have anything like major in it, aside from revealing that. It does end, and Cody had pointed out, and I'll explain why I think there's a difference there. It ends there with Neil getting a call, which is interesting that it wasn't Ava who got the call, because she is the senior tech, about like another job that they had, and Ava's not really sure if he's just pulling her leg or not. The second one starts, they're still at the party. Apparently there is just a window wiper in the windows because they get pelted with tomatoes from their looking outside the window, and then Neil pushes a button and then it window wipes, which is kind of funny. But after that, everybody else basically goes home, and then Ava's leaving to go and visit her sister's family, and Neil's just like, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm just going to chill here at work. And she's just like, are you kidding? This is our first day off in like months. And he's like, yeah, no, it's fine. So she leaves, and he basically has one of the machines that they used on Johnny, and he hooks himself up to it to try and do something. Not really sure what. We don't know. It's probably related to whatever illness he has or whatever. And so, but when he's trying to do so, the power goes out. And so he's like, very confused. So he goes down to the basement. He turns the power back on. And then while he's doing so, he's looking at it, and it's like, this looks like it was manually turned off. Let me check the log. And then he just says something like, wait, that can't be right. There must be a glitch in the system. So then he hears somebody moving around upstairs. He grabs a broom. He goes upstairs, and it's Ava. He smacks her in the face with the broom. While Ava was leaving, she was talking to her sister, and she did see a phantom of herself in there, and she was very, just shocked and confused, and there wasn't an explanation given on that. So then I was like, what the hell is going on? The stinger, because basically all of Johnny's caretaker family comes in, Lily and her kids. Roxanne shows back up, who's just one of their other doctors, and they'll have this dinner with his sister's family at the workplace with Neil, being like, come on, just join us, let's have some fun. And so he does. The stinger is she's talking to her sister about catching a ride out because Neil's going to borrow her car, and the screen statics, and it cuts to Eva alone in a dark room with the machine on her head, and then it cuts back. So presumably, my thought is this is a farther future thing. Neil's dead, possibly, and she wanted to have something probably happened when he put the machine on. So in her memory, she was fixing what happened in that instance and so that he had something happy there with her as the final memory that she had of him before he just was dead from her life. That's my thought. I have no idea, but the stinger was very interesting.
Wow. I gotta play that one myself.
That makes so much fucking sense, because how did everyone just show up back at the office and have Christmas dinner there?
Right. Exactly. And so, yeah, like when you're playing it, you're just kind of like, okay, this really is kind of weird, but okay, sure, I'll suspension of disbelief, but if that shadow that she saw was her in the current time going back to alter one of her own memories, then it's like, okay, well, she just kind of made everything work because that's the power that they have.
So, wait, is it because Neil died, or is it because she regretted not inviting him and he died and she's rewriting her own memory?
Yeah, she's presumably, from what it looked like, she's rewriting her own memory. I don't really know why.
I mean, they did talk about it in the main story a little bit. Like, if they were still in the machine and the patient died or something, they would be fucked.
Right.
If the power did go out and Neil was in there, that would be, like, really risky, at least. Right?
Presumably, but I don't know why she's rewriting her memory, because it wouldn't, like, change the, it wouldn't change what actually happened.
Well, but
so Neil would still be dead, but theoretically.
But she would be agonizing over it, because I'm in her camp where I had the opportunity to invite him to my place. I didn't. He didn't come. I feel guilty about not inviting him. It doesn't matter whether or not he would have come. What matters is I could have saved him, I think, and I didn't.
Yep, exactly. And the fact that she was willing to do that is just, again, another just really interesting insight on Ava and what she does. But it's just a lot of speculation, like a lot of this game is. They don't ever come out and tell you what happened. But apparently, there's another chapter out that came out at the end of last year, so I'll probably be playing that on the side, because I'm very curious to see where the story goes, because it does still have Eva and Neil.
Ah, alright. So, we all agree, worth playing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Worth playing, of course, yeah.
Yeah, because like every other RPG Maker game, it's not perfect, but there's nothing else like it.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, listeners, we should talk a lot of games here, but, like, we actually like this one, so 7 out of 10, everyone?
Well, it's no Pokemon, but
I guess.
With that, then, thank you all for listening to the RPG Maker General Podcast of the RPGMGP. This is Cody. We'll catch you all next time.
This is the Red Mage. Enjoy your bacon, everybody.
And this is Blue Sky Robin, and, fuck the Animorphs, I guess? Oh, I can't say that, can I?
Whatever.
Oh, fuck.
I like them, so we'll balance it.
I ruined the whole podcast. We gotta start over. Give me the headset. I'm gonna start all over.
Let me rewrite my memories real quick.
Oh boy.